So your reinforced headers are going to be required in load-bearing walls. And headers are going to be constructed with two equal size C-shapes forming box beams or back-to-back headers, or with one or two angle pieces that fit over the top track forming L headers. Now your box beam headers should be properly insulated before any installation is complete. Your main takeaway is that your reinforced headers are going to be required in load-bearing walls. Now, non-load-bearing interior partitions are generally constructed of a lighter gauge metal stud. And when load-bearing interior partitions are required, heavier gauge studs are to be used. Now, gypsum board is then applied using self-tapping screws. Your main takeaway is that your non-load-bearing interior partitions are generally constructed of lighter gauge metals. In regards to your open web steel joists, these are often used in conjunction with metal framing systems and masonry construction. Now, an open web steel joist is a structural steel member constructed with steel angles and bars that are used as cores with your steel angles or your bars extending between those cores at an angle. Now, open web steel joists provide your structural support for floors and also roofs of buildings that allow for passage and the concealment of pipes, ducts, and electrical conduit within the depth of your joist. Your slap-on grade foundations are used extensively in your warmer climates and areas with high water tables, but may also be used in colder climates. In those colder climates, a footing in a short rim wall that extends below the frost line supports the floor slab. In your warmer climates, a thickened perimeter footing is used since there is no foundation movement caused by the freezing and the thawing cycles of the soil itself. Main takeaway is that slab-on-grade foundations are going to be used extensively in warmer climates and in areas with higher water tables. Your grade beam foundations are going to be used where you have unstable soil conditions, and those grade beam foundations are supported by piers spaced at regular intervals that extend into the ground to a depth necessary to reach a solid supporting soil or rock. And that grade beam foundation can be used on level or steeply sloped lots. Now, due to engineering and your common building code requirements, the basic building structure, whether it's wood, metal, or masonry, does not vary greatly between different regions of the country. But however, precautions must be taken in regions subjected to excessively high winds or where there is a danger of earthquakes or your seismic zones, just to ensure that the buildings can withstand great stresses. Your rebar, that's going to be required in all concrete or masonry foundation walls constructed in these particular regions. In addition, special ties such as a hurricane tie or other structural reinforcement may be required to fasten that foundation to the building framework and to fasten the various framing members together. Now, your wall rigidity is increased by using strong diagonal braces and a thicker sheathing. So keep that in mind. In your seismic zones, buildings are going to be designated to counteract horizontal shear forces in the framework. And shear walls with a variety of specialized tie downs and anchoring systems provide structural protection against forces exerted during an earthquake. Now those tie downs and those anchoring systems provide a frame that is not rigid at the connecting points. Your main takeaway is that in those seismic zones, buildings are designed to counteract the horizontal shear forces in the framework. And lastly, the primary cause of or for regional variations in building materials and construction methods is this climate. So sustainable construction methods place a special emphasis on increased levels of resistance to heat and cold transmission of the building materials used in the structure. So construction materials are going to be rated with an R value, and that R value is a value that represents the ability of a material to resist heat flow. And most insulation products have an R value listed on the packaging. The higher the R value, the greater the resistance to heat flow. The total R value of that wall includes the R value of the framing and sheathing material plus the insulation placed within the wall. So an airspace such as the one between the wives in a masonry cavity wall adds to the total R value of the wall itself.